Exactly 8:41 a.m. news and views on Salam Media. We cross over now to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and we're going to be talking to Pacifist Farooq. And he is going to talk to us about 4 years after the initial coup. The Myanmar regime prepares for ongoing, very violent and messy polls. We understand that pressure is building on Myanmar's military regime to hold national elections that opposition forces have promised to disrupt. We also know that Myanmar's 2024 census was almost certainly the most contentious, deadly ever conducted. So, what exactly is going on there? What does this mean for the people of Myanmar, very especially the Rohingyas? Pacifist Farooq, salam alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I see you're a poet, a columnist, a teacher, and also a very fierce and dedicated human rights activist. And you're here to talk to us about the struggles of the Rohingya people. How did you manage to leave Myanmar? And what were the conditions like back then? And then we'll talk about the upcoming polls. Over to you.
Oh yeah, uh, I left Myanmar in 2017. You know, when the conflict happened. Actually, it's not conflict. It's like it's genocidal operation against the Rohingya. So yeah, in 2017, the Myanmar military, as you know, the Myanmar military launched the genocidal operation against the Rohingya, and over 700,000 Rohingya were forced to flee, and over thousand of Rohingya were killed, and yeah, hundred of Rohingya women were raped. And at that time, I was teaching to a village or the start of the Butidong, and so I have to flee. I have to join the influx. I have to join the group those who are fleeing to Bangladesh. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to give a bit of a deeper background to exactly who you are and what you've done up to now, and how, even though you're now in Kuala Lumpur, you're continuing your work regarding human rights abuses. And as everyone recently has been referring to the situation of the Rohingya people as a genocide. So, you are a poet, columnist, teacher, and human rights activist. You've published poems and many anthologies and in several leading journals, including in Kenyon Review in United States and the Telegraph newspaper in England. Your debut poetry book, A Lost Bird Between the Genocide and Displacement, was published with the sponsorship of Asia Justice and Rights, and that was in July of 2024. Besides, you've also written several articles using the name Pacifist Farooq, or another pseudonym for your safety, on the Rohingya crisis and the military coup in Myanmar for Democratic Voice of Burma. And of course, this was in English, based in Thailand. And of course, the Daily Star in Bangladesh and Rohingya Vision in Malaysia, etc. And the list goes on. So, Alhamdulillah, I think you've achieved much in this very, very young life of yours. How do you feel sitting in Malaysia now? And I know that your activism continues in a very, very big way, knowing what is playing out in Myanmar and the genocide on the Rohingya people.
Yeah. Before I came here, I was in Bangladesh, and in Bangladesh, and because after fleeing in Myanmar, I took refuge in Bangladesh, and yeah, I wasn't also safe over there, and because of the some uh, armed group. So actually, they have targeted some other. Actually, they targeted the educated people. So I was one of them, and yeah, I have to flee, and also Bangladesh, and I came here in Malaysia. But here also life is not that easy here too, and yeah. Uh, yeah, like actually we have to be we are those Rohingya here in Malaysia. There are like I think 120,000 Rohingya, and here our I think most of them are undocumented, and they are in constant fear of being arrested, and yeah, so life here is not also easy. The Malaysia government is not also taking the responsibility of the refugee, and their governmentality management is like a new level governmentality, and yeah, Malaysia uh, uh, distribute the Malaysia distribute their responsibility to other NGOs and INGOs, and uh, actually the UNICEF and some other CBO and NGOs are doing all these things, managing all these things regarding the refugee.
But
So
clearly, even though you're a refugee there and there are lots other refugees in Malaysia, the conditions I should imagine are way better than the conditions in Myanmar, because we've heard of um, the discrimination against the Rohingya people. What is the current situation then? How do you think that the polls, we understand that they are going to go and vote again. How's that going to impact on the Rohingya?
oh yeah, yeah, in the last 10 years, you know. The situation is worse than before. I mean, I think I have to say this is like the situation is very worse, much worse than in what happened in 2017. Uh, because at that time we were just targeted by one party, just targeted by the government. Right now we are being attacked by both sides. I mean the Arkan army and also the Myanmar military. So over there, in Myanmar, while I was in Myanmar, I passed my matriculation. I wasn't allowed to go to university just because I'm a Rohingya, and those who have studied together with me, I mean, those who are like Buddhist, Rakhine, and Hindu, they could go to the university, and even if I score much higher than the other student because of being a Muslim, I wasn't allowed to go to the university after passing my matriculation. And here the situation is much more worse than before. Right now in Myanmar, those who are living in Myanmar, for example, yeah, I have many relatives over there. I keep in touch with them and what's happening over there. And the Arkan army is literally copying everything that the Myanmar military has done did to the Rohingya. Uh, and right now, in Arkan, uh, most of the part of the Arkan is under the control of the Arkan army. So the Arkan army has control over 40 town out of the 17 township in Arkan, and all the Rohingya are under the control of the Arkan army. And Arkan army is also using the same strategy as the Myanmar military junta has used against the Rohingya. So similarly, in the time of the Myanmar military junta, Rohingya were not allowed to go to have quality education, and Rohingya were also allowed to were not also allowed uh, to move to somewhere else. I mean, from one village to another, and similar. The thing is, the situation is similar. In Arkan, even if Rohingya need to go to from one village to another, the Rohingya need to take permission. And yeah, those who and the another thing is, Rohingya were conscripted, Rohingya youth were conscripted by the Myanmar military junta, and similarly, the Arkan army is also forcibly conscripting the Rohingya youth to sub their rank. And yeah, actually, basically, the Arkan army is copying everything that uh, their successors have done against the Rohingya.
Okay,
So
so what you're saying to me is, it doesn't matter who wins the elections, though it is predicted to be very violent and messy. It's not going to change the situation for the Rohingya people. When we let's understand, when we say that the Myanmar regime is preparing for a messy and a violent poll, messy and violent for whom? The Arkan army against the military, and where do the Rohingya people then fit in? Are they both? Are both the both Arkan and the military going to be targeting the Rohingya people during these polls, or are they going to be fighting against each other? What? Just explain that in more detail, please.
okay, yeah. The thing is that what the world need to know is the poll will not happen inside Arkan, because over there the Arkan the poll is the election is doing by the Myanmar military junta. So Myanmar military junta hasn't doesn't have any influence in the Arkan. Most of the township, I mean, as I mentioned before, uh, over 14 township out of 17 town inside Arkan are under the control of the Arkan army. So there is no way that the military junta can conduct election over there. So the election, I think, will not much impact on the Rohingya. So there will not be any election inside in Arkan, because the Arkan is not part of the it's not under control of the military junta.
Okay, you have told me earlier on, I asked you what your conditions are like in Malaysia, but a listener has just asked the question again. They might have missed that part of the interview. So, this is the question: how have you adapted from the refugee camp in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, to your current situation in Malaysia?
Oh yeah. Uh, I never thought to come to Malaysia before. If I thought to come to here in Malaysia, I could come here in 2019. Uh, what I always wanted to go to Myanmar, but as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't safe. That's why I had to come to Malaysia. It's not my choice, but. Uh, yeah, well, the route is very tricky, because we are stateless. We don't have any document. Like we don't hold any citizenship, because we were living in Bangladesh. We were living as a refugee, so I have to take yeah I had to come here by land. It was very risky, and it take also a lot of time, and like it take like 1 month, about 1 month. So yeah, it's very risky. And after I come here for over 2 to 3 months, I was very miserable. I was very vulnerable, because I didn't have any work and any job, and it was very hard for me. And on the other side, my family was also were also displaced in Myanmar. And yeah, somehow right now it's okay for me. And yeah, because I am somewhat educated and good at English, maybe yeah, it's a little bit easier for me. But for those who didn't have the opportunity to go to a school and to be educated, and then I think it will be very hard for them to be adapted to the here in Malaysia, to be settled here in Malaysia.
Is there a lot of discrimination against you as a refugee, you and your people there? And if you had to make a comparison, is it better being in Malaysia or having continued in Cox's Bazar?
Yeah, Malaysia is, I think, a lot better than Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh, Rohingya were put in an organized hell. Rohingya were not even allowed to go out of the camp. Before I came here, I was detained for about 18 hours by the Bangladesh authority for attending an NGO meeting out of the camp. You know, over there is no education. There is no way to go to a school, and there is no way to have formal education, for higher education especially. But here, I think I would have the opportunity to study to here. I mean, to continue my higher education. But in Bangladesh, there is no chance at all. And over there, in Bangladesh, uh, no one is allowed to even to go to out of the camp. And I saw many people, in 2023, I think over thousand of people were detained by the Bangladesh authority to for moving out of the camp, for going out of the camp. So I think I have to say Malaysia is a lot better than Bangladesh. Uh, yeah, yeah, when it comes to movement, when it comes to education, when it comes to security and safety. Yeah.
So your human rights are not being violated there. You are being given opportunity to better your life, to study, to work. Are there restrictions on work, and what's the housing situation like there? Are you still living in camps, or are you allowed to, if you can afford it, to live in a little home, your own home?
Yeah, here in Malaysia, there's no camp, there's no refugee camp. One can stay wherever he went, and uh, but one should have the financial stability. But here, as a refugee, refugees are not allowed to work formally, but informally and officially. But many people hire the Rohingya, and also many people also, many employer also exploit the Rohingya because of lacking their document. And yeah, regarding the housing, and yeah, because here, but one cannot survive here. It's just somehow managing, somehow surviving here, because here the housing is much. And if I need to go to hospital, then as a because I need to go to the hospital as a foreigner, then the charge is a lot much higher than the resident. And if the hospital charge one ringgit from the resident, then where yeah, for the foreigners, for the
Okay,
refugee.
we sadly we have to wrap up. We've run out of time, but clearly what you're trying to say is despite the restrictions placed on you and your people as refugees in Malaysia, the conditions are way better and you are treated in a humane way. So alhamdulillah for that. Thank you for talking to us. And we will follow these upcoming elections. Which already has been predicted to be very violent and messy. You take care. We're glad that you're in a space of safety, and we hope your family are able to join you sometime soon, or rather, that peace can prevail in Myanmar so that the Rohingya people can live in peace for once and for all. Thank you indeed. It's exactly 1 minute after 9 o'clock.
Your financial partner. If you